time to get in to the Unfiltered Thoughts Podcast.
This is the Unfiltered Thoughts Podcast, where three numberings talk about social, political, and cultural topics in America today. I'm Noah.
I'm Colton.
And I'm Todd.
Great
Mental
start.
delay there.
A little mental delay. That's alright.
He's lagging. It's okay.
Oh, good.
I
So,
have latency.
for our first topic, I kind of thought it'd be great to talk about some fatherless homes. Who's with that one?
Yeah. Woo.
Yeah. We all have a little bit of experience in the fatherless home type for at least for a little while. If
For a moment
Colton,
or two.
you'd like to start on yours since yours was the shortest time without a father in the household.
Yeah, I mean, I only went without like a true father figure for like about a year and a half, 2 years. Always had I either had my stepdad or my actual dad there. I didn't really ever experience any of the fatherless things that people say. I mean, I got a lot of the experiences you get with the father, all the learning how to work on stuff and how to mow, learning all your basic life lessons. And if I didn't learn it from a father, my mom was pretty strong, so I could always look up to her, and she always had all the answers for all stuff like that, just in her back pocket. She just learned to live and work on her own, so there's not much that she couldn't teach me, you know.
Oh, that's good. Um, what about you, Todd?
Well, throughout most of my life, haven't had one. My dad dipped in 2008 when I was about 3, and then after that, the only real father figures I've had is my older brother, my uncle, my grandfather.
What's it like having like a brother as like the father figure? Like when you look up to him, like is it obviously you don't see him the same. It's not like this is my dad. There has to be some different dynamic. Like of course it's your brother, but like it's how do you view them in that way? Like do you still view them as this is my older brother, or is it like more is it more like a father? Like I've never really experienced that because I don't really have any older siblings.
Well, so given the certain situation that I was in, which we're not going to go into depth, um,
Yeah.
with everybody in the family being as hard-headed as we are, it was, putting two bulls in the same fencing, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of butting heads.
A lot of clashes. I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But when it came down to it, it was, he had my back even if, if he was an ass at times.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's a lot of parental like relationships can be said like that, like where you have one more mature than the other, or like in this example, like you're the younger child, but even then you still have the understanding like they want what's best for me, and even if you can't see it at the time, like out in the future you're gonna be able to acknowledge that you're gonna see it, you're gonna understand it the same way they do, even if you may not agree with the way they went about it. Like I can see that with my mom. Like I don't like the way she went about some things teaching me as a child, but that doesn't mean I think she did a bad job. It just means that I would have taken a different approach, you know? Because at the end of the day, the same values, morals, and ideas were still in place. It's just about execution, you know?
yeah. Uh, what what I was thinking about the execution of stuff, like parents kind of, especially now, kind of have a different execution on a lot of parenting, like ideas, kind of like my mom kind of taught me in a way that was just very easy for me to understand. We would quite literally just kind of sit down and talk about it instead of her just telling me. We would actually have a conversation. Like she treated me more mature than what my actual age was, and it was actually really great to just sit down and kind of talk with somebody instead of have a parent, so to speak. Um, Especially about stuff that I was a little unknown about at my younger ages and kind of stuff that I didn't know about. But I also didn't have a father in the house for quite a while, and for most of it, I did have a tough tough time trying to find that father figure. I did have both of my older brothers were really great about it. Learned a lot from them, and still do now. Found a lot of father figures through middle school and high school, and it was honestly really great to find some gentlemen, like actual gentlemen, that would teach me how to be a man through playing sports, band, all that stuff. It was really great to see that happen, that there were still good men in the world.
Having like a mentor like thing. I think that
Yeah,
really helped me my senior year when I started to butt heads with my stepfather. I think having Duran there was very nice. Having my band director, who
yeah.
I mean, after 7 years, it's almost like he's a third father to me. You know,
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
it's like, and having that mentor, like it's an outside perspective, but at the same time, he knows me probably better than anybody else did. So he knows my thought process. He knows my thinking. So he's probably going to be able to. I don't I don't even know how to say it, but he's able to give the best advice out of anybody I know probably because he sees both sides. He sees the side of me that everyone else sees, but he also has known me for so long that he knows the other side of me. He knows the side I don't really show out to people I don't know. You know what I mean? People
Yeah,
I would be connected with like only through like family or really personally. Me and him had a similar connection, so it's easier for him to give out advice in that way than it is for a lot of other mentors. Like a lot of other like when it comes to like coaches and whatnot, I feel like you can develop a close bond like that, but it's a lot harder to get one on one if you don't have time. Like I feel like time is the key factor in building that mentor like bond
oh yeah.
with somebody.
Especially with mentors, like that bond takes a while to create, but once it's there and like the baseline is set up, it just kind of flows naturally. If you and the person connect on a deeper level already, then that bond just kind of flows correctly and it feels great. And I definitely think that you and Duran did that. Your band director, he was definitely a great teacher for me. He taught me a lot of stuff as well. Um, yeah, I mean, Todd, did you have any good mentors?
Just my uncle, my brother, and my grandfather, and I've known them my entire life, so that time's always been there. But I've had a couple others who've taught me certain things, and as far as the putting certain time in for mentorship, I somewhat disagree because depending on set events that can transpire, the severity of it can determine also how quick a bond can build
Yeah,
or
I
how
feel
little
like
or
yeah,
such.
and of course that's what I was actually gonna follow up with exposure and not only like what brings you together, but like how often you are together. Because like for most people, the mentors they find in high school and younger, it's usually a football coach, a teacher, something like that, where like you're with them like what, like an hour or two a day. So like it's gonna take time for that bond to build slowly. But like in my case, I was with my band director in sixth grade only for about an hour, but after that he taught band, jazz band, and I had RTI there, so I was spending 2.5 hours a day with him, one on like not one on one for most of it, but there's a lot of time where I'm in the same class as him, talking to him, learning from him, also being my private lessons teacher. Then that added even more once I got to high school. I mean, I'm spending like 3-4 hours a day with him, and you're adding an hour on the weekend, just one on one, completely isolated. And I feel like how much time you're spending there is also important. Like, I didn't bond with our other director like that just because I wasn't there maybe a quarter of the time I spent with Mr. Duran. Like, I feel like the time you spend with someone, it's a lot easier to develop that bond and then to see them like a mentor rather than just a teacher or a director or a coach, you know?
Oh yeah, that seeing difference definitely has a big, huge factor. Um, I I definitely went through a little
Factor.
bit of that. Yeah, sorry, voice was cutting out.
Bro
I
hit the
definitely.
Canadian streak.
I was thinking about Swagger Souls when I said that by accident. But yeah, with mentors, like you definitely, if it's a teacher, you definitely have to stop viewing them as a teacher, and you have to view them as a mentor. That's someone that you can have a conversation with, and it completely changes your view on that person. Like one of my best mentors and one of my best father figures out there was actually my sixth, seventh, and eighth grade coach. He coached me just normal PE, sixth and seventh grade, and then eighth grade. I started, or seventh grade, I joined basketball, and he was one of the coaches in that. And then eighth grade, I joined football, and he was one of the coaches in that. And he was more of the head coach, and him and I just bonded and talked, and um, just really just connected on a mentor level more than just a coach or teacher level, and that really helped a lot throughout my middle school years and kind of bring me to who I am now and bring me to high school really well. Especially just knowing that there's people out there that are gonna be more of mentors than teachers, because even in high school I found some, and throughout going through going middle school and high school, I didn't really think that I would find anybody like that, and almost instantly found somebody new. Found I shouldn't say that. Found a new mentor, and just kind of kicked it off really quick with him, and it was a great bond that still lasts today.
For sure, for sure. I didn't know you ever played basketball. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think
Yeah,
you've ever told me that before.
yeah. It was seventh
You a
grade.
hooper? Are you a big hooper? Is that like your secret talent that I've never seen you
Oh,
do? You a
definitely
big
not.
hooper?
No, 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 no. I was one of the big guys in the middle, one of the taller kids that like jumped up and
They're called they're called spinners.
centers. My
Those are called
bad.
jump balls.
The big mumbas. No, I was a center for a little while, and it was a lot of fun. Let me tell you, it was a lot of fun until I accidentally ripped a muscle in my back, like tore a muscle in my back. Oh, it was
What?
terrible. Yeah, I forget. Yeah, no, I tore a muscle in my back, in my left middle back, and completely shredded it. And don't even know what happened. It was during a tournament for basketball, and went to the ER after. I was like, wow, kind of hurts. And for the most part, I was able to walk it off after the game. But as
Walk it
soon
off.
as we got to the ER, I was dying. Barely stood up. Yeah, it was bad. But it was fun. Let me tell you, basketball was fun in seventh grade. Yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
I played basketball back in seventh and eighth grade.
I didn't know that about
I
you either.
was I was absolutely terrible at shooting. Like I was not a shooting kind of guy, but now let me tell you, on defense, I was a monster, man. I was a monster. I'd be all up in your face, screaming, barking. Yeah, you know when I start barking at people now, yeah, no, I have practice doing that in real life. I just get up in their
Practice.
face, waving my hand out in the air,
Oh
smacking
yeah,
balls. I probably had the most steals and like intercept, like, is it called? It's not interceptions, but like steal. I guess steals would be like their term if
yeah.
somebody's passing it. I don't know. I don't play basketball. I sucked at it. I'm gonna be honest. I was just good at causing a bunch of middle schoolers absolute havoc.
We might have went to the same tournament. It was a Belton tournament. I have a Belton Invitational in seventh grade. I got a medal for it.
Invitational.
Yeah, I
Ooh,
got a medal for
we
it
gotta work
somehow.
on that. We gotta work on that English, bud.
Dude, English is
English first
bad.
language is crazy.
Time for you to go back to school.
Took, bro
I
took
do
English
not want to go
class
back to
all through
school.
high school and still can't speak it. Hey, that's how it
No.
be though. I took Spanish class through high school. Although I can't speak it very well, but when someone's speaking to me, I do actually understand a decent bit of it. Like I'll be at work and someone will roll in and they'll speak straight Spanish to my coworker, and she actually doesn't speak Spanish, but they're like, "Oh, she's Mexican. Obviously, she speaks Spanish." Because I mean, around here, a lot of people do, but still, it's pretty funny. She just stares at them blankly, and I'm like, "I'll tell you what they asked for." Just like write it down for her. She's like, "Thanks."
They obviously ordered a Philly cheese sandwich or something. Come on
Oh my gosh, that Philly cheesesteak burger, I'm not even gonna say made, concocted.
now. I
They're
actually went
crazy.
crazy.
My coworkers were staring in disbelief, bro. They're
They're
like,
like,
"Are you sure that's gonna be good?" I was like, "Trust me, I
trust,
worked at a
trust.
burger place,
I worked at a burger place for a little while.
dude.
Well,
I'll tell you what, I got good at making burgers at least."
oh heck yeah. I mean,
And they had avocado there. That went crazy. The avocado went crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
avocado on burgers are like pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not an avocado lover most of the time. on a burger.
No, bro. I can eat
Yeah.
avocados. I can eat avocados. I feel like Todd doesn't like avocados. Something about his demeanor just tells me he doesn't like them.
I definitely think
I
you,
despise
Colton,
them.
would be the one that
You
just
don't like
hate
why don't
them.
you like avocados?
They just certain textures on certain foods really mess with me.
He about to say
Like
they stinky.
It's the texture. I guess the texture
Like
thing. That's
like
they have an odd texture.
squash, like squash. I can't eat it.
Ooh, squash would, yeah. See, I'm not like that, but my brother, like, I don't know what it was, but he used to not be able to eat rice without having like stomach problems because something,
Really?
like it wouldn't even be the taste in eating anything. It's just the way that it felt in his mouth would make him actually like tweak out. I was like, I don't know what, but as he's gotten older, I think he's kind of outgrown it. You know.
I definitely I understand
Oh
that
my god.
texture stuff because I had a little bit of that. I don't remember what it was, what
As
fruit
long
it
as you can
was.
say with 25% certainty that it's edible, I'll shove it in my mouth. I really like.
At least
I don't really.
25%.
I don't really. Like I really don't care. I don't just. I don't. God. I don't differentiate.
At least 25%. Got it.
25%.
Bare minimum 25%.
Rebar.
Hey,
Rebarb.
you slice up
Promise.
the rebar and it looks convincing enough. Might have to take a bite.
Why have it? That's terrible.
I have to snack real quick.
That's terrible. Well, I guess we should really head more into the topic today. You know,
What are the
I mean,
Okay, so y'all didn't grow up with like a true father figure in that. I
no,
had both my stepdad and my stepdad's dad. So I'm just gonna call him my grandfather for all intents and purposes.
yeah,
But all right, so fishing. Did y'all ever go fishing as a kid?
I did
Yes.
when I had my dad. I did, but as he left, I didn't as much. I did go with my brother a couple time and brothers a couple time.
So y'all didn't go. So Todd, what about you with your like? I know you had your grandfather. So did you go fishing with your grandpa at all as a kid?
Yes, but
Like
most of
as
the
you got
fishing
older, I
done
guess.
was normally with my husband at the time, and even
Nice.
then I never got along with them well. So
I see.
it was either that or like my uncle's got his boat, and every other time that we go down to the coast, we go fishing, stay out for about maybe 5-6 hours.
Yeah, I'm terrible at fishing. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. My ADHD, I just don't have the patience for it. I literally cannot sit there and do that. It just bothers me. Although Trent is crazy at it. My little brother is insanely good at it. He'll catch such huge fish, and I'm like, bro,
How do you
I don't even have
manage
the
that?
time to like measure that out, bro. I don't have the patience.
Nah,
Well, it's just an art. You just got to sit there and
you kind of gotta learn that patience. It's weird.
Yeah,
kind
I mean, I know.
of like how the
I
water
don't have to. I
flows.
just choose not to.
You've just got to be like that.
Yeah. I mean, have you guys
No clue what you're trying to say to me, but yes,
Todd, you
fishing
said
is
you went
fishing.
coast fishing, right? Like
Oh,
into the
coast fishing.
ocean
I never got to
or
try
Yeah,
that.
like saltwater fishing.
yeah, I've done a little
In
bit of
my
that off a
eyes,
pier.
in my
So,
eyes, that is the only proper way of fishing.
I mean, I don't know.
What? Nah.
I've
Fishing on a lake counts.
I've caught some
Don't hate.
pretty good
I've
bass
gone lake
on
fishing a couple
lake fishing.
times, but if you want
You're
to
not
get
gonna
some
find that.
truly
You're not.
big catches,
Yeah, I'm not there to get big catches. I'm there to enjoy time. I feel like the other
yeah,
side of it is like, how do I view fishing? My concept of like outdoors activities like fishing and hunting and stuff. Hunting's different. Hunting actually doesn't count, but fishing and like camping and all that, I'm there just enjoying time in nature. You know,
Oh,
just like
100%.
enjoy the environment around you and spend time with whoever you're with. Whereas like hunting's a job. You're going out there to kill something.
I mean, you can still view
well, you could
hunting
argue
as like
view
spending
fishing
time.
the exact same way.
That too, yeah.
It's because like it's a good you're there to enjoy
Yield
the
per.
relaxation,
I feel like yield per
but
time.
like people like me when we go out there fishing, because and especially like a lot of other people that are living on the water, like in Port Connor and all there,
Oh
they're
yeah,
fishing to set records. They're fishing just to catch some stuff, just to get a fight.
yeah. They're
Because
they're they're fishing for the fun of it.
because you've got fish like say trout, which depending on how large will give you
Truly
some of the
big.
fight.
Those are huge. Those are huge,
And
man. Really can't handle those.
kick them. And on the flip side, you've got other fish, which they're small, but they fight like hell. You know, you got red drum and black drum, which I brought
Ain't
one in
no
a
way
few
I'm
years
fishing
ago.
a musical instrument out the ocean.
Jesus Christ.
You
No,
mean to
Like my
tell
older
me
brother
we
caught
just fished those?
my older brother caught a 50-pound black drum maybe 7 years ago, and it took him about half an hour to reel it in just because how much he was fighting them. Sharks are the
Jeez.
same way.
Who is going shark fishing? All right, let me
I've
know
been
down
It's
in
shark
the
fishing.
actually
comments.
really
Make sure to
popular.
like and subscribe to the what's the name of the podcast?
Well, hell,
All
Ethan,
right,
my
in
little
my
brother, has
defense,
caught
we
a shark.
created the name of this pod. Noah created this like 10 minutes before I hopped on
I did.
to
I
record
created
this.
it yesterday. Okay.
All right,
And
you
you
didn't tell me
decided
the
to
name
execute it
though.
My
in 10
bad. My
minutes.
bad. My bad. It's
The entire
unfiltered
idea of
thoughts.
a
Come on now.
podcast. Yeah. All right. Okay, if any of our unfiltered podcast listeners are going to fish for sharks, just tell me why. Just tell me what's wrong.
Tell me what.
What demons are you fighting? There's got to be something going on. Talk
Demons.
to
To
me
be
about it.
fair, unless you're fishing on the actual ocean, if you're fishing in a bay or whatever, you're
I
not
was
gonna
about to
catch
say,
any big sharks. I
uh,
like I saw an older fella
who
about
is,
maybe in his
bro? You got to
50s.
use an entire fish to fish for the shark.
Yeah.
It's like
No,
a
you don't.
trade up.
I
No,
mean,
you don't.
you
What do
ba-
you mean to tell me that you're gonna strap a worm to a
Squid,
tiny little
squid,
string?
squid, squid.
that's
Alright,
still a
that
whole
counts.
squid that you're gonna use,
No,
bro.
you're not
Whole
using an
fish,
entire
bro.
squid.
See, then you're not fishing for the right sharks, bro. That's all I'm
That's
gonna say.
not entirely true.
If you're
If
not
you
fishing for a great white, are you really fishing at all? Like,
are
come on,
you
let's
really
be real.
fishing?
Okay.
Like,
Dude,
come on
fishing
now.
just kills me. I love the water, but fishing I just don't have the patience for it.
Uh, no, I,
Whereas hunting, bro, I love hunting. Hunting, I can be as patient as I need to with hunting, but fishing,
it's very different. It between fishing and hunting, they're very different. In the base idea of them, they're very similar, but in the act of doing them, they're so very different. Like fishing,
well, I kind of grew up in the country. I kind of grew up in the country. Like all my weekends and time outside of school was either spent outside of my house over at the park I live near, or spent outside in Holland, like actually in the country, just shooting stuff, hunting, and just doing country stuff. I don't know how to put it other than country stuff.
yeah, I understand.
They be doing country stuff.
I didn't grow up like that. I grew up in Southern California in apartments most of the time. Um, I mean, we did have a house when my father was there, and then that kind of didn't happen basically because he left, and we just had to stick around in apartments for the time being, and didn't exactly live in a country in the side of America, I guess you could say. Southern California
Hmm.
just really isn't the country vibe as you do in Texas. Uh, it's more of city kind of stuff. So I grew up with a lot of outdoor stuff like trees, grass, all of that. You know, like being able to go to a park and have nature there. But it was just very different for me. We were going there to like run around and beat each other with sticks kind of stuff. More of that than go out and hunt or fish or shoot stuff. Basically, we went out to just enjoy the nature and beat each other with sticks.
Honestly,
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like that's you just got like half the country living down right there. Just be outside and
pretty
hit
much.
each other.
I mean, most of it was, we're just gonna fight with some sticks. Like we found some cool sticks, and we're like, this is a sword now. That kind of stuff. Like,
This is now sword.
yeah, like stuff like that.
Did
Or
y'all ever take okay? So did y'all ever take sticks when y'all were a kid and rub against the ground until they became like sharp,
sharp. Yeah.
or is that just me and my
Yes.
psychotic self? Yeah, I
See,
used to just like rub them
as
in.
soon as I was
I
able
would make
to,
them into swords, bro. I would
oh
make them
yeah,
into swords.
That and like cracking good sized rocks together trying to make fires and whatnot.
I tried that once with
Actually
a
living that
hammer
shit
and
like
a rock.
Neanderthals.
Oh no, I took a hammer to a rock one time and it sparked, and I was like, all right, I'm near dry stuff. I might as well not do that again.
Nah, I got a magnifying glass taken away from me one time because you know the wood chips they put at like parks and whatnot. I was like
Yeah.
Yeah.
12, Grabbed a bunch of those, put them on the sidewalk, grabbed the magnifying glass, and with the Texas sun, it didn't take very long to start setting stuff on fire.
Oh yeah.
Takes about 15
Treasure.
seconds tops.
Yeah, no, that stuff was on. I was like setting it on fire. My mom came out and said, "What in the hell are you actually doing?"
Nothing. Nothing.
Put the magnifying glass behind my back. Nothing. Can't believe I thought that would work. She took it. She hid it somewhere. Somewhere gone. That thing went to the dark rooms? The back rooms. I think it's
The
in the
back
dark rooms in
rooms.
the shadow room.
Went to the shadow room.
Oh, 100%.
I think isn't shadow room just another name for like the void? Like, didn't they just not want to say that things were just getting taken out of existence in the show and the adapted version for English? Pretty sure the shadow realm was a reference to like just nothingness. Like it just got killed. Anyways, train of thought gone. All right. All right, guys. I can't monologue for like too long. I'm not that smart.
Yeah.
Noah, hello.
Yeah, no, but going into the wilderness is, even if you're not hunting or fishing or whatever, it's still an interesting experience. Like, whenever I lived in Colleen, there was a patch of backwoods I would go to almost every day. Get my jeans and my shoes on, go out there with a machete just strapped for all the brush and everything. I had to find everything from snakes to turtles. I found a gator one time.
How did you find a gator in the middle of Texas?
Bro was just chilling.
Bro was just chilling.
But that's as simple as I can put it.
Oh my gosh, a ceiling pinch. Sorry, I'm rocket leaking over here.
Rocket League. Alright, well, I
Yeah.
mean, 100%. Outside activities are definitely one of the most fun things that I had during my childhood. I mean, before I got to Texas, I was outside every day that I
I
could be.
miss the Texas heat.
See, I don't. I really liked in California where it wouldn't get as hot, so you could, in my perspective, in being born in California and living in California for a good portion, I should say. Um, it was
80's just
just
not hot enough for me.
it wasn't
I
as
just
hot, and I
love
really
the
liked it.
warmth.
I can get behind
I'm a
most of it.
snake, bro. A snake. I need that heat.
I can get behind the Texas heat. I just sometimes I wish it wasn't as hot. I'm just chilling in my room, and it's like, wow,
Okay,
it's
okay, like
110.
112. Yeah, like 110 plus is crazy. But like when it's like 90, like mid to high 90s, I can live with that. It just feels so good. Like
Oh yeah.
recently, I forget what was happening. Like it got like up to like the 80s, like high high 80s over here, almost 90, and I was like, I just wish it was a little bit harder. Like, it
That
just needs to be
tad bit
hotter.
hotter.
Yes, bro.
Uh,
Like I need it.
I never liked the summers when it was that hot in California. Like sometimes,
I hate
it's,
spring. Spring, I have a
uh,
just I hate the hatred for. I'm allergic to bees though, so like spring means
that's
death.
why.
So like I'm just like.
Yeah.
Although the older I get, the less afraid I am of like running into a bee. I'm like, well, if it kills me, it kills me. I've lived this long. It be what it be, you know.
It might as well just
Like
happen.
I'd love to live for another 60 years, but if a bee decided that wasn't gonna happen, well, it is what it is. Survival of the fittest, you know. Like I feel like it's just the Lord telling me it's not my time.
That's another thing. Like we should definitely get into our religion. Like what was taught in your households when you were younger, and do you still believe that now, or do you believe something different? Like
Oh,
what?
it gets so complicated. Oh, it gets so complicated with what I think.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I completely understand. I mean, I was raised in more of a Christian home, and as I grew up and tried to follow that path, it didn't work out for me as much. I kind of some saw some what's it called? Like some differences in what I believed and what I was taught, and I kind of strayed away from that Christian side of it all and went more towards I'm just gonna believe what I believe in and not really go for the Christian side of living, I guess you could say, because people definitely make it into a lifestyle, and I personally don't like that of the Christian lifestyle. I like more of the free side where I don't have to worry about some kind of sin or Satan stuff going on. That's what I believe, at least.
Well, I feel like the entire concept of religion is just very up in the air because there's a possibility of a higher being, right? Very real. I mean, my perspective's like Schrodinger's cat, right? So there either is a god or there isn't. I have no clue. So in my mind, both realities exist, right? So I both live in a world where there is a god, and I also live in a world where there's not. So you just have to have a moral compass about yourself. I think ultimately, like you know what's right and what's wrong, and if you don't, then look at how your actions are going to affect others. And if it's constantly going to be, if it's negative all around the board, then it's probably morally the wrong choice. Whereas if it's positive, then maybe that's the right choice, you know?
Yeah,
Or if it's
I
something with a
agree.
neutral effect that only progresses you, that's a positive choice. Whereas if you're doing something that's going to put yourself up while putting others down, that's not good. That's not. Your moral compass should be what you truly guide off of. And I feel like religion does a good job of setting a moral compass for a lot of people. Like growing up in a Christian household, growing up, I went to a Baptist church. My stepfather's side of the family was Methodist. My mom is very religious, but it's more like she's just a Christian. She's not segregated into any of the specific belief systems or practices. And then I have a very Catholic. My dad's side is very Catholic, so I've experienced a lot of the church and like I have a I have a decent knowledge about the Bible, Jesus, Christianity, just the entire religion, right? I have a good expansive knowledge, but what I believe doesn't always align up to it, right? So like the reality is, there's a 1 in 400 quadrillion chance that any of us are made when it comes to your mother and father. What's it called? Re something. Having children. We're gonna use that because I am blinking. But
My brain is blanking as
reproduction
well.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day, reproduction, right? The chance that you're born is 1 in 400 quadrillion. You know how insane that is. So so think about this, right? So there's a 1 in 400 quadrillion chance that you were born. There's a 1 in 400 quadrillion chance that your mother was born. So the fact that your mother and then your ancestors, all the way up to at least 2,000 years ago, if not more, the chance that all of them are born, like the proportions are just insanely small, right? Like the values are just unbelievably small. I don't even know it, but if you were to do like 15 times that 1 in 400 quadrillion, I think we're getting into numbers that like there's so many zeros. Like come on, like it's gonna be an entire one in a Google, if y'all know what a
Yeah.
Google is.
It's one of the biggest numbers out there with so many zeros that I don't even want to
Dunk.
attempt to count the zeros because
Yeah,
I'd lose my mind
yeah.
trying
It's
to count
just
them. It it, when
that's
you
what I'm saying.
think
It's like
about that,
the chances that that happens, right? So then you look at the chances the universe we might have evolved into what we are. The chances are minute compared to that. I mean, like let's be honest. Like look at all the similarities. Like I think there's like a 2% difference genetically between us and like chimps, and look at how different of a species we are.
yeah,
So the odds that we evolved from chimps, very realistic. I think. Well, at the end of the day, I think we're all still monkeys in our own way. I think we all are just hairless monkeys. The way we
oh
act, the
yeah,
way we behave, we're all animalistic still.
yeah, 100%. I mean, there's still that animalistic behavior that we have, like all the time. There's still that.
I think. I think another thing is, and this is kind of like segueing backwards, but in the like fatherless homes, like I said, we're not really that much different than animals. And at the end of the day, not having a father figure, you don't see how to act towards other people. So you go to these primitive instincts of constant aggression and dominance. You just have this artificial sense that I must be better. I must show that I'm the dominant human. And you end up with an overly aggressive, usually boys. Usually you just end up with an overly aggressive boy that doesn't know how to handle their emotions properly, that hasn't been taught, right? I mean, that's probably one of the reasons that children without fathers are being incarcerated at the rate they are. I mean, just not having that. You're just not being taught what's right and wrong. And at the end of the day, you take away that father, right? So let's say you're getting incarcerated and you just had two kids. Well, then those two kids are growing up without a father, and they're gonna. There's a good chance they end up in jail too. And then if they end up in jail, I mean, it's just gonna be a constant cycle, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, that's all assuming that you don't learn the rights and wrongs from a mentor, right? Because like, look at the three of us. I mean, we're not all criminals. We're not all sitting around doing crazy shit, even though we all had a moment in our life. Still, I'm not in that group anymore, but you two guys are still in the spot where you guys really don't have like a father figure, and you guys are grown men now. Like, you guys grew up most of your youth without a father, but y'all understand what's right and what's wrong. But that's mostly based on the fact that your mothers and father figures, older men in your life, were able to teach you those lessons.
Yeah. Like, especially with me, some of it I did have to like, wow, this is wrong, this is right, on my own, 100%. Like, just being a child and asking questions helped a lot. Being a child and doing that kind of like test with like other children, like talking to other children and be like, oh, they didn't like that very much. Shouldn't do that again. Should not do that again. And then being like, oh, well, they like that. They thought it was funny or whatever, and like that's good, bad. Trying to figure that out, navigate that with half of um, a a parental couple is kind of weird. Trying to figure that side out of the good and bad on a man's side is very weird. It's very different for women. I mean, I can't speak on that side because I have no idea. I mean, I do have a little sister and she's kind of still trying to understand that good and bad, trying to figure out her own self, which that's completely on her. I know what I've been through, and it's been very different from what she's been through, and we can keep going on about the differences between male and female with a fatherless figure or not having a
I
father
think
in
another
the
thing
home.
is, I think another thing is teaching someone to be a man. I feel like that holds a lot more weight than teaching a girl how to be a woman. You know,
Yeah,
like
I
it, like in the way that I feel like a lot of girls. I feel like a lot of girls are a lot more mature at a younger age, which means they start to pick up and understand those lessons at a lot younger. Whereas boys, what is it, 20? I think it's like 26, 27 when most men are at their like mental, like that's when they mentally are matured, and then from there I think that's a slow decline. I'm pretty sure if I read my studies correctly, but you have to think about that. Whereas girls, I think most are like mentally matured by probably like 18, 19. I'd
yeah.
say most of them I interact with, I mean, most of them are women by the time they're getting into like their college ages.
Oh yeah.
I see a lot of guys that like, dude, you're almost 30. Like, at what point do you understand maturity, responsibilities, and whatnot?
Yeah, it's definitely a very different thing between male and female going in maturity wise. It's very different. It's it it's kind of interesting actually if you really think about it. Women could mature a lot quicker than men at a very very young age. Like they start younger based on whatever goes on inside the female body. They start younger maturing wise and they grow like as children they grow bigger, like they grow taller, um, all of that starting even younger than men. I forget what
They have a shorter,
song.
more rapid. They have a
Yeah,
shorter, more rapid growth, but they also don't grow as much.
yeah, they
I mean,
really
often
don't.
it's like naturally boys usually do grow bigger, but it's like, why is it that their process is so short, right? And theirs is so short and so early when ours is later and longer. Like, why not ours start sooner and theirs start later, so that both would be at the same age whenever they're hitting their maturity, right? Like when they're finally hitting the barriers of maturity. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why the human evolved like that, but
It very well could
evolved
be a
created
very
anything.
primal thing that men are supposedly living longer than women and um, like very primal instinct of we do this very specifically to help out the family, and um, the women are just mainly the caretakers of the young and caretakers of the household, trying to find that safe space of this is where I can take care of my family and then take care of them, and then the man's like, gotta eat, so we go hunt and do all of that. So it takes a little bit longer for us to do that, and um, we've got to physically learn that from another man. We can't just learn how to survive off of the land without prior knowledge and somebody to teach us. I think that's one of the main things of why we evolved that way, is that the womanhood or the woman side of it or the female side of it is that they mature faster so that they can get to that destination of I'm going to be a mother and this is going to be my child. And then a man's got to be like, okay, we're going to try and survive. Let's start hunting. Let's start figuring out how to fish, how to set up a camp, how to set up a structure. That kind of primal instinct. And now it's kind of washed away, but we still have that maturity
We have the bare
difference.
bones. We have that bare bones structure of it still
Yeah,
residing in our. I see that. I see that. I think another thing is I feel like with the uprising of figures like what's his name, Byron, or is it Myron? Myron
Myron
Jones
Gaines
from
and
the Fresh and Fit.
yeah,
Yeah, Myron and Andrew are both super like prominent. They're prominent figures right now, and all they're saying is, I mean, they're saying lots of things that I don't agree with, but their main focus is teaching boys, is quote unquote teaching boys how to be men, right? So do y'all feel like those guys would be as like do you guys think those guys would be as prolific if we didn't have so many like fatherless households? If we didn't have a lack of father figures, if we had full families, nuclear, not even nuclear, but like having a mother and father in the household, you don't really, you're not missing that side that's telling you, hey, you need to do this to be a better person. Instead, these guys wouldn't be listening to guys with questionable thoughts, or I wouldn't even say questionable, it's just their own opinions. Instead, they're listening to their father, and then you're going to get a pass down of true family values instead of whatever someone says on the internet. Because you never know what they're going to say, you know what I mean? Like, your kid could
yeah,
be learning something you completely disagree with, but you don't have a father in the household, so he sees a guy with a bunch of cars that's super strong, that's a kickboxing world championship. Yeah, he's a successful guy, so naturally, other men, you want to be successful, right? You want to have that status, you're going to try to copy, right? You're going to try to do everything you can to be like him because he's like the ideal human. Like when you're
yeah,
growing up, I want fast cars, I want a lot of money, and I want to be able to beat people up.
yeah,
And he literally checks every single box, right? So no matter what he says after that, why wouldn't we listen? You know,
yeah. Like
why
young
wouldn't why
men
wouldn't the
kind
average
of
guy? Why
gravitate
wouldn't the
towards
average
that.
young man listen to that? Like obviously he knows something, so we're gonna try to figure out what he knows, and he could say whatever he wanted, and everybody's gonna listen. When you have
Yeah,
an audience that big, everybody's gonna listen.
well, yeah,
I feel
because
like
at
it's
that point
something.
the ends justify the means.
Yeah, I do like the idea of having male figures like that, or like what's his name? Peterson. What's his
Jordan
name?
Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. Like him as well. Him as well. It's another. It's strong masculine figures that are well off. I mean, you're gonna look at them. You're gonna be like, they are in a good place in life. I want to be in a good place in life. What do I have to do to get there? And then no matter what they say, you're just gonna be following commands. You're just gonna be listening. And I feel like it's not dangerous if you have someone like Peterson, who's actually Peterson usually gives great advice. But if you have someone who can give maybe you have like a fourth voice come in and they're saying something crazy, they're like you need to start like beating your children. I don't know, but something wild that's like not really accepted. Well, what if that's just accepted all of a sudden? All these young men are like, well, he's successful, so why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I just
yeah,
listen to him? Whereas like we at least we had some kind of father figure where we're like, okay, well that's not right. Alright, I have a good moral compass about myself. I know that's not the right thing to do. What about 6, 7 year olds? They just see a guy with a bunch of cars surrounded by a bunch of women
they obviously
driving fast.
gravitate towards that, and then
They're gonna gravitate towards the guy with the
yeah,
Bugatti, not the guy that's in a broken down little Jeep Wrangler from '98, telling them that, oh, you need to study and do all your homework.
Yeah.
You know, listen to a dude that has millions of dollars. You know,
Yeah.
I am in fact the person with the '98 Wrangler. For anyone wondering.
Yeah, I mean, Todd, you had some stuff to say?
As far as that goes, you've got people like Myron and Tate who say questionable things, and the way that they say things could be worded differently and getting a different result. But either way, they're getting their point across. And you've got people like Jordan Peterson who say things in a much passive way, but still getting the same message. And then, going back to the fathers is, yeah, they see this, they want to do it. At a certain point, they become super desperate for, status, attention, whatever. And then whenever that doesn't happen, due to mothers raising in the house who don't know how to raise males correctly, that's when the school shooters happen. That's whenever violent outrages happen. Because there's no, it's like putting a train on the train tracks. There's no telling where the train's going to go if there's no guiding to it.
Yeah. I understand. Like, with your metaphor, the train on the train tracks, like, there's still the train tracks to lead the train, and then the conductor to,
I think
you
it's
know,
train no brakes. I think that's
yeah,
the best way to put it. Like a train with no brakes. Your father's
yeah,
giving you that emotional guidance on how to control your emotions, how to as a man isolate the situation, figure out your problems, and solve those problems. Instead, you're left with a child with a lot of problems, with no way to solve them, no understanding on how to break down a problem, and no emotional control and emotional maturity to really just break it down and understand. Like they don't understand their own emotions, so they're not going to have that control. I mean, we're talking like 21-year-old guys too. We're not talking like children. Like,
7, 8, 9.
could you
You're
I know,
imagine?
talking
and
Could
like,
you
like,
imagine? Like your mother can teach you how to control your emotions, but if you don't have that problem solving, then you can only control so much emotion. Only
oh
so
yeah.
much of only so much of that can pass through your body before you just give in. You know?
And that's another thing. Like, between the mother and father, it's so different on how they break down situations. I I I mean, my mom just can, like, and she's done. She's got the situation figured out. But for guys, it sometimes does take a little bit longer. You gotta actually think about a response to the situation. For women, it's just like, oh, this happened, gonna do this, and it's immediate. Guys, you have to, like, start at the, this is a problem, and then what are we gonna do to fix it? How am I going to respond to said situation? And then you respond. It takes a little bit of a second for our brains to, like, act out that thing. And it could be very primal on why we do that. Back to the sticks and stones, we have to assess those situations very delicately. And I think that's why it's very different from an only mother household raising a man or raising a boy, and the mom's just like, why can't you just figure it out already? While the boy's like, where are the extra steps? And then in a household where there's a mother and a father, the mom can just say, why aren't you figuring this out? And the father's like, well, he's got to take all these steps first, and then
I feel
when
like that's the
he
difference in pragmatic thinking. I feel like men think
yeah.
a lot more pragmatically, and I can relate to that. On my mom, I'm more based on like how does this affect other people, or my dad's like, how does this affect you? How does this
Yeah.
affect the end result? Because your goal is yourself. Your goal is your results. So then you
Yeah.
start to take in like my dad's main thing is he's a result based person. I'm a results based person. It makes sense to me. It doesn't matter how you get there. It just matters that you do get there. Now
Yeah.
along the way, obviously it doesn't matter how you get there. Like becoming a successful businessman while hurting a lot of people along the way, you're gonna burn a lot of. You're not gonna get there though. You're gonna get your end goal, but are you doing it while creating those connections? But I feel like that's results, right? So you need to get to where you want to be. I want to have connections and I want to be successful. Okay, well maybe you have to be a little nicer on your way to becoming a businessman. You have to be like aggressive in taking positionings.
Yeah. I agree.
Whereas like a lot of women I've met, it's not very much about that. It's about does this affect everyone else around me? Feels like they're very women are a lot more social. It feels like
Mhm.
they isolate the social situations. They're like, how does this affect everybody, not just me? Whereas like me personally, I'm thinking, how does this affecting me? And I don't know, maybe I'm super selfish, but like my main goal is to have success within myself. So someone else not being happy about my choices it's not really relevant to me.
Well,
Whereas
it's also
me not
depending
being
what type
happy
of
with my
situation you're in, because you're talking about a situation where it's success based and bring yourself up properly. Where if you take a situation where it's you're having to care for multiple people or whatever, it's if I do this one thing, what'll happen to everybody, rather than
I can see that. No, I understand that. I just feel like women take a lot. I feel like women take others into account a lot more often than
a lot
men,
more
or at least
than
I
they need
do.
to.
Maybe a lot more, and then men take it a lot less than they need to. I don't know, I feel like that's the whole social dynamic of humans. Humans are social creatures. Women are just more social, which I think women being more social might, if we're just solidifying and saying that evolution is how we got here, that would be a direct result of the difference between hunting and gathering, because the men are out there hunting probably individually, not as or as small packs, whereas women are out there they're out there gathering in large groups. I can only imagine being at when you're sitting at home with a lot more women all doing things to take care of for the tribe while men are out hunting in small groups. Men are isolated to very few people, whereas the women are exposed to the entire community as a whole 24/7.
Yeah.
And I mean, that has to have an effect evolutionary wise. If we're saying we evolved, I mean, and then we could just completely nullify saying we the way we were made by the Lord is just social creatures.
But I mean, no matter which way you take it, like even in the Bible, the women were more the social side of the community. Like they would get together and talk a lot. While even with I can't
Women
think of
scare
the
me,
word.
bro.
Women do scare me. I'm not gonna lie. Women scare me.
They be they be
But
like
like
feminine and stuff. That'd be
when Jesus
scary.
had all of his followers, like they mainly talk about how they were
Bro's
men.
on Instagram collecting followers. Sorry.
They mainly talk about how they were men following him, not as much as the women. Like, at least that's what I got from the Bible, the little that I did read. Like, it was mainly just the men following him, and then they encountered problems, and he just kind of fixed them all. And I don't know. The Bible's just kind of weird to me. I didn't
Bible
read
do
it
be
as much.
crazy.
Like,
I
it's
did.
definitely a weird story.
I read like the first half of the Bible at one point. Like
I
read it
just
like a
remember
book.
reading like the first two paragraphs over and over because I would literally start it and then get bored and then like 3 months later start
I
it
tried
again.
to I tried to read a different book of the Bible, or at least a different like half of the book. Separate the book into smaller sections, and I tried to read every book at one point. I got to the New Testament and I couldn't finish it. I got really busy with other stuff. It's a very time-consuming process.
Mm, yeah,
But even
uh,
after all that, the Lord and the concept of God just never really stuck with me.
I agree with that. When the more we look at it, yeah, the way that we evolved was just very different compared to
I think there's
any other
aliens.
person. Like what?
I think there's aliens or not. It has to be, right?
There has
It
to be.
has to
I
be.
mean, the
I mean,
universe
cause
is infinite, so there definitely has to be aliens. How did
yeah, I mean,
you think they evolved just like us or not?
I think I think that somewhere in the universe, maybe not even in our reality. I think honestly, I think in the fifth dimension, there's probably some
Beings?
life, not even organic. I think there's living. I think there's living creatures or sentient. I think sentience is a better way to put it, because I don't know if there's organic life, because the concept of organic life means carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen, and I really don't think there's a chance that there's an entire planet, or at least not very close to us, that's based on those three and is going to have that. However, I do think there is probably life somewhere in the universe. It's a lot closer.
Well,
I don't think Todd's sentient. I'm gonna be honest.
I
He's
don't
got to
think
be a
he is
government drone.
either. He has not spoke very much
He's not
No, I'm still here.
spoken. He's a shy. He's a shy little boy today.
No.
Very.
He wants me. It's okay.
This is how we're gonna end it. He wants me.
He wants me.
It's not even an
Imagine. Could you imagine into the episode? It's me.
He wants me.
I
Okay.
feel like the name of this episode has to be fatherless behavior because I feel like if we don't, then we're doing it a disservice.
I got you. I'll name it. I'll definitely edit out
Oh.
all of Todd speaking though, so when we get to this part of the episode, they're like, "Did he really speak? No clue."
Just
You know?
insert sound bites of honk from like a donkey or something.
Did you already cut
so
it, Noah?
funny.
Nah, we're still rolling, bro. We're still rolling. I'm
Nice.
Yeah,
going
no.
for the full hour.
Full hour? What time is it? 6:41? How long have we been going for? My stream's been up
35
forever.
minutes.
Your stream's been going for an hour and 41.
Yeah, we've been.
Yeah, my
we've
stream's been going
for like
forever.
55 minutes. We still got like
For how long? For how long?
55 minutes.
55?
We're about to hit the 56 minutes, so still another like 4 minutes.
Ah,
to listen.
I thought you were saying 35. I was like, there's literally no way we've been talking for 35. I was like, there's no way I was streaming for an entire hour and a half before we even started.
Yeah, there is.
He's like, actually, I haven't started rolling yet.
I haven't started rolling. We spoke all of that for nothing.
I know, we
Dude,
talked so
alright.
seriously this episode. I feel like next episode has to be us just bullshitting, basically. To put it,
Oh
to put it
yeah.
the best way. It's
We
gonna be
this first one was just kind of like a we're getting ourselves out. So I mean, if anybody
Yeah, you're.
stuck to the end, thank you.
It's just Todd coming
Honestly.
out.
It's just
Todd
Todd
coming out.
listening to this thing. He finna be at
Nah.
Sam's working, and it's just gonna be him
Sam's
listening
is
to this.
crazy. I'm gonna be making sandwiches at Jersey Mike going crazy.
I'll
Todd.
post
Todd,
this
at least
everywhere.
we don't make $7.25 an hour.
Yeah,
That is true.
excuse me, 8.25.
Taxes. Shut up.
Taxes don't take that much. Promise.
Yeah, you are
Yeah,
making
they
enough for
they only-
taxes to take an entire dollar.
Oh, 100%. They take a lot, bro. Taxes go crazy.
Dude, taxes take like 75 cents max from your money. There's no way anything else.
75%? No.
75
75%.
cents.
Oh, 75
Somebody's
cents.
number.
Oh.
His math
Thought you
is going
said-
crazy.
Well, you kind of cut out, so I thought. Hello, everyone. Thank you for watching all the way to the end of what you heard or saw. Thank you for everything and just listening in. We will try and post these at least once a week, at least as much as we can. Our schedules do get a bit funky, but we'll try and post every week, and we are going to be posting on Spotify and YouTube. Try and add a little bit of difference and get it out there as much as we can. The gameplay, if you are on YouTube, the gameplay that you saw of the Freeplay in Rocket League was my best friend Colton. He is the one that did all of that, and he's to thank for all of that. So, if you did like, I'll link his Twitch down below so that you can go follow and chime in on some of his. So, thank you for everything.